Hello, everyone, and welcome to Movie Mandates, the show where my sister and I force each other to watch movies according to a monthly theme. I'm Andrew.
And I'm Kelly.
June is the month clams are the most happy, and when clams are happy, they smile.
They
And when
do.
they open their little traps in happiness, we jam our fingers inside and clutch the pearls within. Yes, it's Pearl Clutchers Month here on Movie Mandates, and this week's movie is a French film from 2020 that a bunch of very online people raised a big old stink about. But unlike those silly gooses, the Eisen siblings actually watched the movie.
Yes.
But before we talk about how twisty this film made our undies, it's only fair that since I mandated today's movie, Kelly gets to challenge me in a segment we call Trivial Trivia.
Excellent. So last week, 2 weeks ago, these are every other week, Kelly. So 2 weeks ago, when you told me that we were going to watch Cuties, I said like the fruit, and you
No.
said no. I have now since watched Cuties, and no, has nothing to do with the fruit. But brother, because I'm very into it right now, can you name three other movies that have fruit in the title? Whether or not they're about fruit is up for debate, but
Does,
has fruit.
does Fruitvale Station count?
That's actually pretty funny. Let's see if we have to count it. But that's pretty good.
It's got fruit in the title.
That is true. That's
Uh,
not one that I thought.
Fried green tomatoes. Tomatoes
Very good.
fruit.
That they are. That they are.
um, is is licorice or pizza a fruit?
You know what's so funny is like I thought of this question and I was like, can I answer it? And well, yes, I can without looking it up. But that did go through my mind, and I'm like, what was that movie? That terrible movie, and it had food in the title, and I'm like, nope, licorice pizza. But it did, that one went through mine
That
as
one.
well.
Uh, they had to have made an Apple Dumpling Gang movie at some point, right?
Indeed, they did.
Okay. I'm not positive they did, but they must have at some.
That's the one that Jeremy said. He was like, they made an apple dumpling gang, and I was like, so he, yeah,
Um,
una más.
okay. They made a Banana Splits movie.
Woody Allen has a bananas movie, but yep.
The Banana Splits movie is but in the movie they're robots and they murder people. It's one of those that I think I don't it's not public domain. I think someone just bought the license to the
All
Banana
right.
Splits and made kind of like what they're doing with when Pooh Bear hit
Yes,
public
yes, yes.
domain,
Blood and Honey or
Blood
something.
Honey, and
Yeah, of
Mickey, or the Steamboat Willie version of Mickey, hit public domain this year, and so they're making a horror movie.
course they are.
It's like, I mean, that's like the most boring, obvious. I mean, I love schlock, but that's like the most boring, obvious. Let's take an innocent childhood icon and make it gory and R-rated and with sex and nudity and stuff. And it's like, yeah, okay, but that's obvious. You want to really impress me? Make a really good Mickey Mouse cartoon.
Sure, sure.
That would impress, it's public domain. That version of Mickey Mouse is public domain. Go ahead and just make a new cartoon starring that character. Make it good. Impress me.
That's
So,
hard to do, though.
yeah, that would be hard.
That's a little.
That's why they make a really crappy Pooh or Mickey mask, and it's just a masked serial killer wearing a public domain icon or
And some bib overalls or something
yeah,
strange like that.
because
Yeah.
it's cheap and easy to do. That's why.
So there was a movie, one of the first movies to be shot on iPhone called Tangerine.
Tangerine, that's right.
One
Did
of
you see
my
that, by the
favorite,
way?
huh?
Did
I
you see that?
haven't. It has been on my must-see list forever. We've got to figure out a theme that one fits. And in fact, it did. We had the LGBT QIA plus month, and yet I still chose A Fantastic Woman, which is I don't regret. But if we do it again, if we do
No.
a Pride Month again,
No,
Maybe.
Fantastic Woman is a good film that I don't need to watch again.
Right. I
I'm not sorry I watched it either.
no, I love that. Pineapple Express and A Clockwork Orange
Oh,
were the three that came to
oh,
mind.
that's a good one. Clockwork Orange. Oh, I like it. Well done. Uh,
So,
Mystic Pizza is not a fruit.
no,
Pizza
you
should be a fruit.
are you hungry
I am actually.
for pizza?
I
Apparently,
had
you're like, I'll have it mystic, I'll have it with licorice. I just need some pizza.
yeah, apparently I just want some pizza. I'm like, it should be a fruit though. Well, pineapple pizza has fruit, or Hawaiian pizza has fruit on it.
Indeed, it does. It's very popular in this house. Not by me, by any, but the two girls love it. And I'm like, whatever. But yes. So yay, we talked about fruit movies. But
Hey,
Cuties isn't even fruit.
Cuties is not about the small oranges.
Little small oranges that are so easy to peel. Like they basically like want to be released from their outer shell.
That's the difference between Cuties oranges, the little oranges, and regular oranges is it reminds me of the Eddie Izzard comedy bit from some years back where he was talking about peeling, the cheap round of an orange where he's digging into the peel, it just comes off in small bits. It just takes forever to peel thing. Yeah, you're right. Cuties just like plump one piece.
One Piece. It's yeah, and then you look and you're like, why were you even yeah, the other ones there's stringiness, and then it like is all white somehow, and you're like, that's just not the color an orange should be. Like now you have to string off the white pieces. Yeah, no. I'm allergic to oranges, so I don't eat them anyways, but still. And it's not an allergy, it's a sensitivity. You
Hmm.
know, livers.
So Cuties.
So Cuties is about little girls trying to come out of their shell.
Yes.
See how I did that? Did you know that
Oh,
our
I see.
cousin's
You're
milk?
relating it to the actual peel of a cutie orange. Okay. I wonder if the
Ah,
director whose name I looked at and went, yeah, I'm never going to pronounce that right.
whose name I looked at and went, nope,
Nope.
not
Nope.
do not know your language, sir. There were like
Ma'am.
2 or 3 times in the film that I was like, I know
Director.
what that is. I know that
Director.
word.
Director, ma'am.
Oh,
Lady director.
you know what? That makes me feel better. Knowing
I
that
actually
makes me
looked
feel
into
better.
I looked up she's unsurprisingly not done a lot of at least English press because of the stupid firestorm that happened when it was released on Netflix in this country. But she did, after a while, publish an interview, which was behind a paywall, and I didn't feel like paying for it. But I did find another article that talked about what the interview said. So,
Oh,
according to her, and she talked about, what it was based on something she'd seen. She was wandering around Paris or wherever the hell she was, and she saw a show much like the dance competition
the
that
one in the
they
park.
do at the
Yeah.
in the park at the end of the movie. And she was watching these young girls dance in the way that they see
Yeah.
pop stars dance, and she's going, do they have any concept of what they're actually doing?
Yeah.
And she was both kind of fascinated and horrified and embarrassed and all the emotions.
Yeah.
And so, according to her, according to the article that's reporting on the interview with her,
Right.
which may have been translated from French, I have no idea. She spoke to over 100 young girls to talk to them about how they felt about their routines and what they felt they meant, and societal pressures, and all kind a wide swath of things. And so she did a lot of research before she wrote this movie, which also um ties into seemed to, I was getting from the interview, ties into her own background.
Interesting.
I don't know if she shares the same immigrant background that the lead character and her family share in this film, but I
Right.
wouldn't be surprised if that were the case. Um, And she also mentioned in response to the controversy that happened over the Netflix release, she said that in filming the movie, the parents of all the young actors were involved every step of the way. They were always on set, and we had a
Good.
psychologist on set, to talk to the kids and us and make sure everything was okay. So I'm like, well, if there's any way to do this right, sounds like she did this right.
I first off, yes, that sounds great. All of that does. And I, in watching the movie, while there were some very large things that I was like, that had nothing to do with the actual, these little girls dancing, had
Mhm.
to do with like these little girls. There were some things that were, I did not like. It upset me. I was like, okay, that kind of goes in a direction that I think that you weren't trying. Like some things muddied the point, I feel. However, I do think that it was shot and it was done in a way that you really do understand that these girls don't understand.
Yes.
So I was pleased at that.
Yeah, the way it's shot is not sexy, it's not titillating, it's not appealing to the prurient interests of any gross people watching. It's uncomfortable and absurd and hilarious in some ways. And yeah, I think I understand anyone who would, in good faith, opine that um, there's no way to use young actors to depict the sexual exploitation of young children without actually exploiting young children.
Right.
I get that.
Right.
Um, I felt I didn't get any sense of the young actors being exploited. First of all, while
Yeah.
the characters in the film are 11, the actors are not.
No, when
They're
they
13,
four, yeah, they're
14.
well, it's funny
These
because when the
kids are
boys come
all
up,
going through puberty.
yeah, when the boys come up, that one, and they're like, "How old are you?" And Amy's like, 11. And they're like, "Shut up, Amy. No, we're 14. We're 14." It was funny because before she said 11, I was like, "Oh, they're 14. I have a 14-year-old. I know what they look like."
Yeah.
And they're, yeah, maybe 13, 14, but like that's what they, and I was like, okay. And yeah, when you look at them, they look hella young, but that's okay because also
That's fine.
like
Also, you
that age discrepancy is okay because honestly, like 11-year-olds don't have that body that like they had to skew a little older, but like, yeah, they still, it's passable. It's fine.
Yeah, well, I mean, in movies dealing with children of any age, typically they're going to be playing older. The actors are going to be older than the characters they're portraying,
Always.
which
That's
is which is fine. So the
Beverly
actors,
Hills 90210, baby.
the characters are 11, the actors are 13 or 14,
Yeah.
which I'll admit made me a lot more comfortable with the film. I think 13, 14-year-olds, especially girls who are clearly going through puberty right now,
Right.
I think they are kids of that age can be mature enough to understand what they're doing in the context of this performance.
Right.
An 11-year-old, even though that's only 2 or 3 years younger, less likely.
Here's what, and let's get to the plot and stuff like that in a moment. But like, what I will say is it is quite incredible to be an adult and watch movies that you watched as a kid and realize, and movies that you even liked. Flight of the Navigator aside, because there's really no sexual innuendos in that one, but like, um, but I
Yeah,
mean, there,
yeah.
yeah, really, it's the most tame movie ever. Um, but I'll rewatch things that I saw as a kid, and I'm like, oh my God, like we put on Scrooged just
The Bill
randomly.
Murray
Yes.
Christmas thing. Okay, yeah.
Over the holidays for the kiddos, and we were like, oh, you're gonna love this. We watched it as a kid, and we're watching it, and I'm like, this it's a longer start than I realized. It's a very violent start. There's a lot of cursing. And we're just like, why did we like this movie as a child? Like, what were we
Because
getting out of it?
eventually Carol Kane's in it.
Right. So we just like the frying pan parts. But it's interesting to watch movies again as an adult and realize how much you truly did not get. And it's also interesting to watch them as an adult and watch your kids watch them
Charles Dickens
because
would have wanted to see her nipples.
they have no idea. Like, there are things that we'll ask, and we'll like explain jokes like, oh, I never got that. And we're like,
Yeah.
even very tame ones, very, 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 we just very recently, and again, because 'tis the season, June,
Totally June right now.
totally June. Um,
Hey, those are
uh,
some nice flowers behind you.
thank you. Thank you.
Very,
My Valentine's Day roses have held up quite nicely,
I was
haven't
gonna
they?
say.
Um, so the point is, Elf, you've
Our
seen Elf.
love lasts.
Yeah, our love is forever.
Yeah, 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 from
He's
Valentine's Day,
yes.
2014.
I didn't even know him then.
Oh, that's
Um,
28.
now the listener's like, wait a minute, you have a 14-year-old and you didn't know him? Not mine. Um, the point is we watched Elf. You've seen Elf. I
No,
know we're not talking about Cuties, but I swear we are.
I haven't seen it, no.
Oh,
It's a
really?
Will Ferrell movie, right?
Oh, that's because it's a Will Ferrell movie. Of course.
I mean, I just generally don't enjoy anything he does. The movie
Well,
looks crap to me, so I never bothered watching it. Although I know, like, I don't know anyone who doesn't like the movie.
it's a great movie.
Everyone loves the movie. I should probably watch it at some point because it's probably great.
This gives zero away, but there is a moment that, the conceit, he's an elf in New York City.
He's
Right.
an elf the size of Will Ferrell, yeah.
And they catch him in like home footage, like from
adopted.
someone's cell phone. They're like, there's a strange man walking around Central Park, and it's like grainy footage, and he's walking and he's lumbering and he looks like that, and it's the missing link footage. Like, he does the exact like looking and the thing, and we actually showed the footage of the missing link footage, the famous one, to the kids, and they're like, oh my God. And they watched this movie Elf and they've seen it 842 times, and yet none of them put that together because they don't know the stuff. They don't have that knowledge. They just thought it was funny because he's walking through the park.
Yeah.
But now it has another layer of funny. So there is so much that kids truly don't get, or they'll just fill it in with what they think. So I will say, watching this movie and knowing this, and knowing, what kids don't actually know. I mean, granted, there's a part where they're talking about penises, but they're talking about how they're so big that they can go in one end and come out the mouth. So, like,
yeah,
they just don't know. And I've seen our neighbor come into the house and she twerks all the time. She doesn't realize she's twerking. She thinks it's hilarious that she's wiggling her butt and like doing things like this.
Kids love butts.
They love butts. Butts are hilarious.
Anything funnier than a butt, it's a butt that moves in funny ways.
Look at it popping like that. And then they make these weird faces and you're like, and it is decidedly not sexy. It is decidedly not
11-year-old's twerking is decidedly unsexy.
Decidedly so. So yeah, so watching this movie, it was an interesting sit, I will say. Let me start at the beginning though, and I know it's your movie and you have a lot to say, and I'll let you, but I'm going to talk about the first like 2 minutes.
All right.
Daughter Amy is the main character. She has a brother who's what, like 7?
It's somewhere on there, yeah.
Or maybe a little younger because he turns the house into a swimming pool, and then you never hear about it again. Um, but at the very beginning of the movie, they're like just setting up that they live in
Stop
the
and
pro.
restart your camera because you're frozen on a pretty unflattering frame.
Oh, lovely.
There you
That
go.
makes
Okay,
me
it's good.
happy.
Fine now.
Well, I just stopped my video, so it's gonna eventually stop and then I'll have to turn it back on.
Yeah.
The point is at the very beginning of the movie, you're just kind of meeting them. They're setting up that they're in the projects, everything's fine. And then the mother comes and has a child on her back.
Oh God, I think I know where you're going with this. Yeah.
There I go. Hold on, I'm coming back.
Yep.
And the whole time I'm like, that child, she's gonna hit that child into a
Like
wall.
on the door jam because she
She's
keeps
going to
going through the
back
door
up
and
into the
turn around.
wall,
Like
and that child is gonna like.
I,
I was
I was
so
stressed.
worried. I was so stressed for this child, and I'm like, because she's acting like it's nothing. Which I guess if you have a baby on your back, you know you do.
I, she
But
seems like a woman with a lot on her mind that could easily forget.
exactly. And by the way, I run into walls that have been there for quite some time all the time, and
Yeah,
I
I walked to the bathroom or my bedroom or something and then just slammed my shoulder against a wall because I just missed
all
the
I could
path
think
that
is
I've been wearing into the carpet for the last decade. So
I was
yeah,
so
I was
concerned
like,
about that baby. I was very concerned about that baby. So I'm glad we're on the same page with that.
but I mean, the baby did disappear from like the back half of the movie, so
Well, I was also the second time that I was worried about the baby is when she being the lead girl, Amy, is spying on the other girls dancing at the little train tracks. And she's like, hold the baby. And the brother's like, no, he's too heavy. He's too heavy. And I swear she says, then put him down. And I'm like, no, 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 don't put him down. Don't put him down. Don't do it. Don't do it. He's like, okay.
Have you seen him try to drag the stroller? He doesn't know which end the wheels are on.
Exactly.
My
You giving
brother.
him the baby was a bad idea. So, okay, take us through the movie, bro.
Okay, so this film is about a young girl named Amy who lives with her mother and her younger brother and her much, much younger baby brother. They live, they came from a country
They come from a Muslim
in
country.
Africa, which I looked up, and it starts with an S. It's West Africa somewhere. I forget what the name is. It's got letters in it.
Ooh,
But
letters, he
they
says.
immigrated to France, and seemingly some part of their culture uh, allows for polyamory.
See,
Uh,
that's what, because I thought they were Muslim, but
they
I didn't know
seem to be Muslim, yeah.
but I didn't know that they were poly,
Or
like,
at least polygamous, if not
that's
polyamorous.
what I meant.
But so the father's
Anyways, please go.
away for there. The father's not the. This is a really. I don't know enough about this to know how I'm supposed to feel. I have to take my context clues from the characters in the film. Uh,
Senegal. Senegal.
oh, that sounds right. Yeah, yeah. I had to look at a map to see where it was. My geography sucks. But West Africa. Anyway, moved up to France, which is nice this time of year, and
June.
in June.
When the clams are smiling.
And the clams are smiling in happiness. That's right. This is the most tortured intro I've ever written for this. um, so the father's away, which is causing some strife at the home because they're seemingly not a wealthy family. So it is up to young Amy to do a lot of the heavy lifting that is particularly stressful, burdensome, and hard on a young child. So she's responsible for her younger brother because her mom's taking care of the baby. She also does a share of chores and cooking and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which may not sound like much, but you watch the movie, you get the sense that this kid has no time for herself.
Yeah,
She has a lot of children should have responsibilities,
Yes.
childless person thinks, but children shouldn't have adult responsibilities.
Correct. Correct. That is a perfect way to put that.
And she
Make your
is,
bed.
yeah, she is sharing in some of the adult responsibilities.
Yes. She does
Um,
not have time to be a child.
she also is not, her mom doesn't, because she's got the baby to worry about and, dinner and house, and they live with or next to their aunt.
Auntie.
Um,
And I'm
I'm
not
not sure if
quite
she's actually an aunt or a grandmother, or I'm
just
not
a
quite sure what the actual
guru of some
relation.
sort, like a religious leader that is just,
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Yeah, I'm
okay.
not sure if
I thought the
it
same
even
thing.
is a familiar relationship or if it's
Yeah.
more of a title. But she's also struggling because she doesn't have because of the responsibilities both the mother and the kid are have foisted upon them because the dad is not in the picture at this point. She's not getting the attention and love and validation that she's seeking from her mother. Her mother also appears to sleepwalk. Did you get that sense that she was
Yeah.
sleepwalking?
Which is also weird though, because it's at the beginning of the movie, Amy is like making little presents to put on her mom's bed,
Yeah.
and then her mom just like
So
throws them off and gets in. So I'm like, if you were sleepwalking, where were you before?
right.
Because I
So
did think she was. Please
right.
continue.
So the mom is one of the rooms, and this isn't a huge space, so this is a big deal that at first we're like, well, why are you doing that? She's making up one of the bedrooms for some reason, but the kids have to share one of the other bedrooms. They're not allowed to go in there, and they don't understand what the room's for. Young Amy gets up at night, and the mother's just kind of standing there staring in the room. And then she
Yeah.
shuts the door, turns around, walks right past Amy without acknowledging her, goes into her room where Amy had put like a little family drawing, arts and crafts kind of, oh, I love my family, isn't this cute kind of thing on her bed. And she just seem not acknowledging it, not like brushing it off, but doesn't seem to see it, just gets right into bed and goes to sleep.
Yeah. Not
She's
angrily brushing it
sleepwalking?
off,
No, she
but
just turns
yeah.
around, walks in her room, gets into bed and sleep. I'm like, is she sleepwalking? Not entirely clear.
No, it's not.
Um,
But
not to me anyway.
oh well.
So it turns out, because father's away somewhere and she's thinking, oh, father's gonna come back and gonna get us some souvenirs and neat stuff. Father calls and we find out that he just picked up a new wife and he's bringing her home, which context is telling me in their culture and religion, this is an accepted thing. I'm guessing where the man can grab as many wives as he wants,
Oh,
and that
positive.
is an okay, perfectly fine, for a lot of people, oh, happy day, joyous celebration kind of a thing. And the mom is putting on a brave face, but it's also clear in a really well directed scene because the kid is hiding, Amy's hiding under the
Very,
bed,
yeah.
and because she was playing around in mom's room and she's like, oh shit, and rolls under the bed. So she hears this whole this one-sided phone conversation, and the entire perspective is from under the bed. So you just see the mom's
Calves.
and the juxtaposition between the happy thing she's saying and the nervous tapping of her feet was great. And then it's pretty clear to me that she's hurting herself, that she's like hitting
Yes.
herself in the head or something, like with a
Yes.
phone or
She's
something.
hurting herself,
She's
doing
really
something.
upset over her husband grabbed another woman to bring home because
Yeah.
apparently I'm not enough. I
Yeah.
would imagine is what's running through her head. So, needless to say, the women of the Smith household, whatever the family name is, they
Alice
got some.
Smith?
I don't know, the IMDb it. I'm sure it's in there somewhere. I don't actually know if they say what the last name is, but
I don't even think like mother or brother or anyone have names.
right.
Anyways, please
Uh,
continue.
that's true. So one morning she goes down to the laundry room and she sees a gal her age doing her own laundry. Angelica, was that the other kid?
Mm-hmm.
The glasses, long straight hair.
Yes.
Yeah. So she sees a girl wearing tight pants and a halter top and has long hair that's
Ah.
like down to her ass long, that's just out. Keep in mind that Amy lives in a, her religion appears to be one of those incredibly conservative, particularly towards how women dress and act and present themselves. So she has to sit in, is mosque the correct word?
I think so.
Okay. And cover her head and sit quietly and dress conservatively, everything down
And
to
obey your husband.
obey her husband, all that stuff. So she sees a girl her age, a peer, who has her hair out and is showing her stomach and is wearing tight, shiny pants and is dancing away and happy without a care in the world and shaking her hips as she dances. And she's just like, just kind of dumbfounded. And she goes to school, and it's clear that Amy's hasn't really connected with anyone. She's made no social connections with anyone, but she sees the Angelica, the dancy gal,
Yeah.
hanging with a gaggle of her own friends, and they all dress in shorts and crop tops, and they're all wearing makeup, and their hair is out and down, and they're all dancing and expressing themselves in whatever ways they want, even if they have no idea what they're actually saying. They're free.
Yeah.
And she's just absolutely fascinated by that. So, in this new gaggle of girls, she finds people to pay attention to her, but also some type of outlet. And while we only get to know our main character, Amy, and to a very lesser extent, Angelica, the
Right.
story is probably the same with the other girls too.
Yeah.
Is that they are navigating their journey into adulthood as best they can with almost no information
Yeah.
from the people in their lives who are supposed to provide that. In Amy's case, it's her mother who's distracted with taking care of, raising two kids, taking care of the baby, feeding the house, dealing with her husband, all that
Yeah.
crap. With Angelica, we get one scene where she talks about how her brother's an asshole and her parents are literally never there.
Right. Because they work nights at a restaurant or a bar or some
Right.
strange.
So,
Yeah.
what these girls have learned is if they dress a certain way and they act a certain way, they get attention. Not just attention, but validation. So they end up mimicking all of the adult women that they see on what our generation would be MTV, but in the kids' generation, it's like TikTok and stuff.
Yeah.
So they look at adult women on TikTok and Instagram and stuff, shaking their buns at a camera and dressing provocatively and dancing provocatively, and they're looking at the like counter go up, and they're like, "Oh, that's how you get attention and validation. That's what you do so that people like you." So the girls form a dance troupe, and they enter a dance competition, and they teach themselves to dance based on those self same
Right.
raunchy TikToks and things that they're seeing, the most popular things that they see online. And
Yeah.
they mimic it as best they can, which is both hilarious and
It's hilarious.
embarrassing.
The scene where they're like putting their fingers in their mouth and they're
Oh,
like
they're
this, and she's like,
constantly
open your mouth, and they're like, open, they're like, and they're like, no, like just the and like it's so funny. They're like looking at like, no, she does this, and you can tell that they don't know why
they
they're
have no
touching
idea
their
what this
face.
is. It's just what the people they see online are doing, so they're
Yeah.
mimicking it.
And I mean, they really, and
It's like
that's what made me happy is
yeah.
you can tell it was directed well in that when Amy first gets the phone and she puts a picture of herself on her profile, like she takes these pictures and she's
Duck
trying
faces
and
it.
she goes and she does the whole like duck face thing and she's and I'm like, yep, that's
And
what
she
you do.
thinks that
And
looks cool because that's
she
what
thinks
everyone else
that's
she
what
sees on
everyone
there
else
is
does.
doing.
And
Yeah.
there's nothing about it. Like she's not kissing. She's
No.
not, she's just like, and it looks terrible.
So
But it's what it's so it's and I thought I'm like, yeah, she has no idea. Which is great.
yes, literally the point. Yeah. So
Yeah, literally the point.
yeah. So shoot, where is it going?
So they form a dance
Right, right,
club.
right. So they form a dance clique and toward how much do we want to go into the movie? So that's the basic premise of the movie, and it's how she navigates her relationship with her family and the culture that she's from, plus her new friends, plus how society is now going to treat uh a woman regardless of her age if she acts in a particular manner. And I thought it
Right.
was typified most brilliantly by a boy in a classroom. I loved this. I almost hated this scene, but then I loved this scene. So she's gets called on to go do math on the blackboard or something like that. And as she walks to the front of the room, one of the male classmates, keep in mind also ostensibly an 11-year-old boy,
Please continue. I have something to say, but please
right,
continue.
slaps her on the ass, open-handedly slaps her ass as she walks past. And it's very clear um, from the way this movie is told and also the performances from the character that this young boy, just like this young girl, is doing that because he's not receiving the adult instruction he needs, and he's getting his information from TikTok
Yeah.
and horrible places that he shouldn't be getting his information from because he's also a nasty little shit. But he's under the impression that when women act like that,
They
you are
expect.
allowed to grab
Yeah.
their buns, right?
Yeah.
That's what he's been told. And I'm like, yeah, and I'm watching this scene. The scene hadn't finished yet. I'm like, you know what? This is a formative moment for this young man. I think a lesson can be learned here. Let's see what happens. And Amy, they start arguing with each other, and his excuse, of course, is like,
She
but she
asked for it.
dances sexy and
Yeah.
she asked for it by the way she dresses and the way she
Yeah.
behaves. I'm entitled now. And I'm like, no, let's see if you learn the lesson. And the teacher tells the kids to shut up and stop doing stuff. And so Amy turns around and I'm like, oh, I was kind of hoping she'd deck him in the face. She
Oh,
turns around, she
even better.
grabs a pencil and stabs him in the hand. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, this is, I think this is a great moment for this young man because this
Painful
is a
moment.
teaching moment, right? Because every time he thinks about helping himself to some woman's buns, he's going to think about the time he was stabbed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to be clear, she doesn't like stab the pencil all the way through his hand. I mean, she just stabs him in the hand with a pencil,
Yeah.
which is pretty great.
It probably hurt and it
Hmm.
probably broke skin. And
Probably
it
broke
definitely, but
skin,
like it wasn't, yeah, you're
but
right.
yeah,
It's not a
he's
horror
not going to
movie
lose
stabbing with
function
the
in his hand.
pencil. Yeah.
Um,
Um,
so that was pretty great.
I
So
will say the weird thing that I was going to say about that class is like when they showed the class and they did like the pan and her sitting there and then she gets up to walk to the board, I was like, is she in a high school class? All these people looked 15 or 16. They looked
than
older.
her, who was playing older than she was, yeah.
I was like, this is
Maybe she's an AP student. I don't know.
well, I don't know. But anyway, it was very funny. I was like, I'm like, that girl in front of her with like the big hair. I'm like, that is a high school, that is a full-on high school student. Please continue. All right, so she stabs him.
And of course, so she ended up stealing, I think, a neighbor's phone, like the
Yeah, that
teenage
dude,
neighbor.
he's like, again, I feel as if possibly because of the language barrier, but also because of the cultural barrier, that like the auntie and him, I think they called him cousin or something.
Yeah,
Maybe I do wonder if that's just one of those colloquial accepted, like, you know,
yeah,
uncle, whatever, cousin, just kind of like that's our, cuz type. So like family friend, neighbor in the building, because he was helping move stuff and he was there and she stole his phone.
right. And she stole his phone so that she could have the ability to look online and learn dance moves, figure out how she's supposed to dress, how she's supposed to present herself. Not a great thing to learn online.
No.
Boy, it's a good thing that a short circuit, Johnny Five goes into a bookstore. If that were made today, he'd just plug into the internet and he'd be instantly racist. You know?
Oh, and
Um,
then Piper Fisher, what is his name?
Fisher
Fisher
Steve,
Stevens.
yeah.
Yeah. That'd be bad. That'd be a bad moment
Um,
in life.
so she steals the phone to do all that stuff. She runs out on something.
She runs out on a lot of things,
Yeah,
like
she
making dinner with onions or making breakfast with
they
onions
like
at 4 a.m.
roasted her ass at 2 in the morning or some shit to start chopping onions when she had a dance thingy to, the dance
The
the
pre-qualifying moment or
qualifying
whatever.
rounds,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
audition, um, at 9 or 10 that morning, and so
Yeah.
they were taking the food over to the mosque or whatever they're taking, and she's like, I gotta go. She just sets it down and she runs away.
She
Uh,
must have smelled so bad. That's all I could think of is
yeah.
I'm like, that poor girl smells like
Um,
BO and onions right now.
she
Although
also
11-year-olds don't have much BO.
to she also takes a picture of her naked crotch to post online. Um, again, because she just thinks, well, I need to up my game for attention and likes and validate. I need
Yeah.
validation. I need to do something because
Because it immediately happened
yeah,
after a
things
fight and
things
upset. Yeah.
aren't going my way, so I need to up my game. This woman showed her boob on the internet and got all this validation. So if I show my crotch, I'll get more validation and things will be okay because this is how I've been shown it works. So
Yeah.
all the theft, the crotch shot, the running out on, the responsibilities that are provided to her, this is all coming to a head in her home life. And they actually try to exercise her, which doesn't work. And
But
kudos to
good
the
on him. Good
kudos to
on
the
that guy.
priest guy or whatever the actual title is.
Definitely not a priest, but yes.
Yeah, he talks to her, and then he goes to the mom and the auntie, and he goes, she's not possessed by a demon or a devil. She's a
Keep
kid.
your money.
Just
Yeah.
keep your money. She's just young. Oh, she also steals her mom's money so that the kids can buy.
Yes, go on a shopping spree and put
I,
underwear over their pants.
boy, they must have hit an amazing sale because she stole, like, I don't know what currency is it. I don't know what the
Franks? Wouldn't it be
francs.
Franks?
Yeah,
Francs?
but I think it was like 250s and 3 or 4 20s, so 160, 180 francs or whatever it is. I don't know how much they get you, but they got bags of lingerie.
Bags of lingerie.
I have
And the
no
best
idea.
part of that scene
And they
is
let
they're throwing it and they're excited and it's like in slow-mo and they're coming up a hill and they have two of the girls have like bras on and two of them have the underwear over the pants and stuff
and the
and
one
they're throwing
cannot
things.
get the crotch right.
No, she can't. No, she
She's
can't.
just constantly digging into that thing trying to
But like behind them is the little brother picking
picking up
up
all the bras and stuff that are landing on
that
the
they're
floor.
throwing
Yeah.
on the ground. And I thought that was very funny that because it was probably like, hey, take your brother with you wherever you go. Like,
Yeah,
it's
wherever you're going, yeah.
and he's just picking up, ground bras.
Yeah,
It's
so
very funny.
there's a falling out with her friends uh due to all kinds of stuff happening.
Girls, due to
Girls
girls.
be girls.
Holy crap.
So she replaces one of the friends, and because girls, they fall out immediately and then fall back in immediately. They get mad at each other and we're not speaking ever again. So
And
I'm
sadly,
replacing you with
guys,
this other person.
very real, very
Yeah.
realistic.
Sad
Now,
when you're alone.
the fighting stuff,
Mhm.
like that part,
The flappy slappage.
I've never been in a fist fight
Yeah.
with my girlfriends,
Yeah.
or a open hand slap fight,
Yeah.
or a hair pulling fight, or any of those. Like the temper of some of these ladies was very off-putting to me. Like the actual physical, like harm that they did was off-putting.
Mm-hmm.
The emotions are very real.
Yes.
The emotions of girls hating you one day and being fine with you the next, and like I hate you did one thing and I'm never going to forgive you, and then a week later you're like, oh, I forgot what that was.
Yeah.
That's very real. But then again, I've never lived, I mean I have, I guess, but like we're not, this is not a suppressed, you and I didn't grow up in a suppressed religious culture. We didn't grow up in a suppressed ethnic culture. We I may have been the only person I knew with curly hair, but oh well, and a big forehead because it was, the 80s and everyone had bangs and I never did. Um but I can't imagine being in a culture that you have like, she starts her period and she's like, I have no idea what's going on. Like I knew what was happening that day. I was like, oh man, this sucks. Like, but I knew what it was. I knew how to take care of it. I knew what I was supposed to do. um so I can only imagine that they're, I don't want to use the word violence because that's not what they're intending. They just have no outlet for whatever
Right.
that sort of rage
All of
or,
their emotions are being suppressed in a manner that where it can be unsurprising when all of it pours out at once
yeah,
in an unhealthy way.
right. So like even though it upset me because I hate to see that, and I'm like, oh man, I get it. I just hate it.
So Amy, who originally replaced one of the girls, gets replaced by the original girl, and then she's like, "But I want to do I don't want to see go to my dad's wedding party with his new wife or whatever." So she runs to the show, pushes pushes her replacement that she replaced into a canal, and then realizes that she doesn't seem to be able to swim. I was like, oh
I was
shit, is
freaking
she
out
gonna
for a minute.
die? I'm gonna turn against this movie really hard if she drowns. But she like clings to a buoy, and I'm assuming she doesn't die.
No, like I'm
Yeah,
thinking the buoy helped her, and that's when Amy
yeah.
walks away. Is when she
And
gets to
then
the buoy, she's like, okay, she walks away. But like
and
I,
to her credit, it was a deep canal. It's not like she could have like leaned over and grabbed her. I mean, that it was
right,
pretty deep there,
yeah,
and she stands there like oh shit. I just meant to push you in the drink so you'd have to go wash your clothes. I think you're gonna
yeah,
die. But anyway, she runs to the stage. They go on stage. They do their dance, and half the a couple people in the audience are like, "Yeah, this is great." And some in the audience are like, there's a few mothers in there like, nope, this is not,
yeah. It
nope.
was fun watching the audience reaction to them dance because some people were like grossed out by it, like
Yeah.
that. Some people thought it was like cute. They're like, oh,
Uh,
because
they, they think they're adults. It's
they're dancing,
adorable.
and
Yeah.
that's like, but
I thought the four-person judging panel was interesting because three of them seemed to be like, yes, this is what we're looking for. I'm like, what is this organization? What are you do?
I kind
And
of noticed that
the
too.
woman on the far left was like one of my
Yeah, she was like,
lives.
uh-oh. Yeah.
She's like, how did I fall in with these idiots?
Yeah.
So Amy stops in the middle of the routine and because she's thinking about her mom, and she goes home and reconciles with her mother
Kind of.
immediately. Her
Yeah.
mother tells off Auntie and they hug, and she says, "You don't have to go to the party." So she has her dance outfit, the shorts and the crop top, which is actually a really cool dance outfit
It's
because it's
cute.
really cool color decisions, and it's sparkly, and it's got really cool lines on it. But anyway, she's got her dance outfit on the bed, and next to it is the traditional full-length dress thingy to wear to the party, and see if you can follow the symbolism now. She leaves them both behind. And she walks outside and she plays jump rope with one of the neighborhood kids. And that's the end of the movie. Okay.
Yes.
I think the thing I would praise this film the most for is the genuinely incredible and naturalistic performances from all of the young cast. Like,
Yes.
if you get a non-annoying performance out of one young actor,
Big deal. It's a big deal.
you done good. If you
Yeah.
manage to do it with like 4 or 5, I hope you worded that wish to the monkey's paw well, because there's going to be some consequences for that shit. But yeah,
That's pretty
the
funny.
main gaggle of girls, really solid. Now, most of them don't really have any much acting to do beyond be a believable girl with chemistry, and have chemistry with
Right.
people you're interacting with. And I bought it. They're hyper and silly and fun and adorable and cringeworthy
And not great dancers, all of them.
no.
Like there's some of them have raw talent,
Mhm.
but like they are literally mimicking dance moves.
Yeah.
And it's funny to watch The Last Dance and go, there's no soul there, there's no connective tissue there.
Yeah, that like all of their there's no flow from move to move. It's not choreographed well. It's just we're imitating what we saw online. Yeah. So that's great. My read on the movie is it was uh the movie was the movie was made in good faith. It wasn't made to be gross. From what I read, from the filmmaker, they did everything they could to make it as comfortable and safe for the actors as possible. Where I'll criticize the film is, number one, it's just not for me.
Yeah.
I found it mostly just kind of boring. There
Yep.
were a lot of, I liked a lot about it, and there were a lot of parts that were laugh out loud funny. Like when one of the girls finds a condom and starts playing with it, and then they realize what it is, and they literally like start washing out her mouth with soap.
They put a Brillo pad. They're like squeezing soap on her tongue and Brilloing it. And they think that and that's another part. That's another part in the scene. Like that.
They're like, yeah, the germs, they could get you pregnant. We've got to scrub them off your
Well,
face.
and it's so, because she didn't put it. Oh, she did put it in her mouth because she blew
Yeah,
it up.
because she
But like
blew it
the
up like a
thing,
balloon and then stuffed it in her shirt.
the thing that was so great about that scene is, and a lot of the scenes is that through the moments that they're being quote unquote, sexy or trying to do like the grown up moves or be very grown up, are pure moments of children laughing and doing stupid stuff like that, and not knowing, having such misinformation because they're 11 and they have no idea. And it was funny to watch, to be like, yep, okay, they truly are
The real
not
villains
trying to be.
Yeah, the real villains are whoever these damn dance competition organizers are for encouraging this shit.
Right.
It's okay. Children can play, children can act adults and be foolish and silly. That's fine. That's how you learn and grow.
Yeah.
But so my two main criticisms for the film, other than I just found it kind of boring. It's luckily not a long movie, it's like maybe 95 minutes. But
Yeah.
I found like after 25 minutes, I was like, yeah, this is not for me. And every 20 minutes, I'd check the timestamp and only a minute had passed. I'm like, oh God. Somehow it took me from 8:30 to 11:45 to watch an hour and a half movie. I don't know how that happened.
It was very funny because I was watching it and I paused it. I think like an hour passed because like
there's still 75 minutes left.
Yeah, he came home and we were talking and I was like, all right, I'm gonna watch the movie. And I pushed play and he went outside and whatever. And all of a sudden he comes back in to tell me something. And I pushed pause and I'm like, you've been out there an hour and I'm only 27 minutes into the movie. And he goes, how's that possible? I'm like, I really don't know.
This movie warps space-time. I don't know how it happened.
I'm like, I did stop to talk to my boss for a second, but like not for 30 minutes. And then like, it was a slow burn. All right, what's the other thing?
Okay, well, that's just I found the movie kind of boring.
Sure.
Just let me try to get to it and not get sidetracked. Okay, um, the movie hits every beat and moment that it aims for. However, I feel that not all of them are set up properly so that they don't quite pay off. For example, the here's my dance outfit, here's the traditional thing, I'm going to leave them behind and go my own way. I get what we're going for. I don't feel it quite paid off. Much like the immediate reconciliation between her and her mom, and the mom telling off the auntie, that just kind of immediately happens.
Right.
There's a lot of that throughout the movie where I think they don't build to the moments, they just hit them. Not
Right.
always, but enough of them to be a bit of a demerit. The other one is there are three, maybe four moments in the film, and we talked about one, the wandering down the street in slow motion with confetti exploding from somewhere while they're tossing the
Somewhere.
box that they just bought in the street. That's more metaphorical, more symbolic. It's kind of like a musical. Generally in musicals, they're not the characters in the reality of the story are not literally bursting out into song. That's just how that medium communicates the narrative and the emotion and stuff to the viewer. This film has a couple of scenes like that. It's that scene where the freedom and of getting adult things and having fun and all that stuff. There's the scene where the dress in the closet starts bleeding.
Yeah.
And and that's, I think, the first instance of a real what's happening isn't literally happening, it's metaphorical, it's symbolic. This came right after she'd been chopping all the onions really fast. I thought she cut the shit
I thought
out.
she caught her hand and she touched the dress.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I'm like, oh no. Oh, it's a metaphor. Okay, that's kind of weird because we haven't had anything like that before. And at the end of the movie where she's doing the jump rope thing, she jumps up higher and higher and she jumps high into the sky, cloud nine kind of thing. I'm like, not really. It just doesn't feel like that kind of movie to me. It's not working for me.
Yeah, it was. I thought the exact same thing because it started as that tiny dot, and I was like, "Oh God, she cut her finger, and she just got blood on her dress."
Yeah.
Oh, that's because that's like that goes down a whole nother road. I'm like, "Uh-oh." I thought the same exact thing, and then the blood starts pouring, and I was like, "Okay."
Yeah.
But that's
Hey,
all right because there was a pool in the house at one point that was ignored.
yeah,
So
that evaporates. I'm not sure what happened there. Hey, you remember when her dad calls the mom, and the mom hands the phone to her, and she takes it and then just drops it out of the window, and the scene ends and it's never brought up again. I'm like, I would have been interested to know what the mother's reaction to that was. Honestly, I feel it's
yeah,
kind of important to the plot.
for those wondering why there had to be a reconciliation between the mother and the daughter, because is the like that stuff like that, but also she finds out that she's running off and dressing certain ways, and she actually there is the scene before the reconciliation, so not the scene right before, but the last scene that you see mother and daughter in. Mother says, "You're not my daughter." Like she's so angry, she's
Yeah.
like, "Get out of it, you're not my daughter."
Mhm.
And so that's why when she comes back and she's like, "Leave my daughter alone," I'm like, "But she's not your daughter." No, I'm joking. I mean, I understand.
Okay, and here's the small thing that doesn't matter, but I noticed and I thought it was kind of funny. The scene where the girls are filming themselves dancing on the stairs.
Yes.
Who's filming that?
I think they set the camera
That can't,
down
someone's holding
up.
someone that's handheld. Someone has that. I don't know who's holding that.
The brother again.
Maybe it's the little brother. Sure. Also, the blonde gal who drops into the splits because she can. I was impressed, but on that stairwell scene, she just picks up her leg and puts it above her head. I'm like,
She
oh, holy
did.
shit! That's not just flexibility. That's strength. That's
Yeah.
hard to do.
Yeah, she's I think they don't go into it because the other girls other than Amy's important, Angelica semi important, and then the other three are
Right there.
are there.
You
Um
just kind of assume their situations are pretty much the same.
right. But she seems like she has some sort, either the actress does or the character has some sort of ballet going on in her, because
Maybe.
even when they were doing the when they had Amy film them the first time, and they were dancing like kind of solo dancing on the
Mhm.
thing. Hers was very ballet inspired. They didn't go into it. They didn't address it.
Yeah,
There was nothing else going on, but I was like, oh, look, a ballerina.
the
Who's gonna
focus
crump now?
should be on Amy and the one friend, but that movie's long enough, I suppose. But I
Yeah,
think,
all 96 minutes of it.
yeah,
Very
I
long,
think
very
we could
long.
have used a bit more with some of the other kids too, because they're just the other girls. They have no character. They're just the other girls there, and that
Right.
doesn't really harm the film, but I think it could have helped.
It's also like my biggest peeve, other than like, the physical stuff that I was like, oh man, because that just wasn't me and or my experience. Um, the girls were just mean.
Yeah,
And
sometimes.
in yeah, but like it was hard, it was a hard getting into it to be like, if you're going to sell me, because ostensibly this isn't
I
a
mean, they did
movie
throw a rock.
for kids. I don't know who I don't know who this movie's for particularly.
Hmm.
I get it. I get what it's saying. I don't think kids are gonna get it. But I
No,
also don't think adults need to be told, or maybe we do, that, hey guys, isn't this gross? We're sexualizing our children, and like maybe we need to stop because do you see how awkward it is? Maybe that's the
I would
audience.
assume that's what she's.
So, Republicans. No, I'm sorry. But um I'm like, if this is what you're going for, like maybe don't make my wanting, because you want to root for her and you want her to find her voice and find herself and make mistakes and hit boys with pencils, but like the fact that you're just like, god, these girls are terrible and they're bullies and they're mean and they're just awful, like, girl, get away from them, find an expression elsewhere. And then they do a whole flash mob scene that just ends. Like, can we not?
That was actually kind of unsettling. It's like, what is going? Even the teacher was like, the fuck?
But
It
like, it was more than the four girls. It was the
was
entire
everybody,
school's like,
yeah.
all right, we're gonna just do the mannequin right now. And I'm like,
Is this a TikTok thing? What do you?
yeah. But that was my biggest upset, is that I was like, I they can be mean to each other once they're friends, because again, girls, and maybe it was just, there was a bit of a moment that
Which
I'm
is
like,
one
they're
of
a
the
little
reasons I
too
think we
hard
could have
edged.
used a bit more character development so that we at least understand where these characters are coming
Yeah.
from.
But
Um, I guess we'll leave it on Amy has a future as like a hairstylist because I mean, with the exception of her trying
dude,
to flat iron her hair with an iron, and I was like, oh God, she's gonna
it's gonna
burn
end
her damn
badly.
face. She was like an inch away from her finger. I'm like, because she puts her head down on
Yes.
a ironing board and tries because she's mimicking the Angelica, the girl with the really long hair, who was doing the same thing. So she's
Yes.
trying to flat iron her hair. She was like right next to her finger. She also damages part of her hair. That made me really nervous
It
too.
made me so nervous. I was like, she is a
But
100% going
yeah,
to
but
hurt herself.
in the reality of the film, I would assume that Amy is doing her own hair. She is amazing at that.
So good
She
at it.
has a
Yeah, she is.
future at doing hair. If that's something she's into, she should totally look into it because, she's like, all right, I'm going to run across town to the train tracks, get where I stashed my makeup, my outfit, and my hair product, and I'm going to run through the tunnel. And when I get to, she's basic Superman,
And
changes
it's
his clothes in a
purple.
phone booth.
Yeah.
He'd watch her and go, "Shit, that's impressive."
Yeah. And
If
she
you
dyes
watch,
her hair
she's
purple
fully
somewhere
dressed.
in there too.
Without a mirror. Apparently, she's done her makeup. She's colored and styled her hair. I'm like, I'm impressed.
I am impressed. I am impressed. Yeah,
This
no,
is
she's
not realistic.
No, it is not, but that is okay.
So, Cuties, not a movie I felt worth getting my undies in a bunch over or clutching the pearls of them happy clams.
Mm,
Uh, I appreciate what it's trying to do. I think it does a lot well. I think it's not as successful at other things, and overall, I found it mostly just kind of boring.
yeah,
Mainly, not through really any fault of the film. It just wasn't speaking to me. It just wasn't for me.
yeah. I would agree with all of those sentiments. I think, yeah, all of that rings true to me. I'm very thrilled, however, that we didn't get on and go, oh God, that was exploitative. So
I
that
mean,
makes me happy.
I could have mandated like a necromantic or something like that.
So
Just,
we found,
gross.
and obviously this is nothing just because of the title, you know that I'm out, but we did, before we got on tonight, look up movies that had fruit in the title just to make sure that there was quite a large, because I had thought of some
Collection.
already, but I just wanted to make sure that there's a good amount. And there's one that's called, I'm gonna forget it already, Cannibal Women and the Avocado of,
Avocado Jungle of Death. Yeah, I have that.
yeah, he said that and I went, I can guarantee something about this. I think my brother's either seen this or he'll
Oh, I've
mention, yeah,
definitely
so,
seen it. It's actually really good.
oh, is
Well, it's actually really funny. I mean, it's not like a classic of cinema or anything, but it is a spoof. It's meant to be funny, and it actually works as a funny movie.
that's incredible.
Um,
That's awesome.
yeah,
That's awesome.
it's Adrian Barbeau's in it.
Ooh.
It's kind of it's mostly a parody of Apocalypse Now,
Oh,
with
okay.
Adrian Barbeau playing the Kurtz part, Marlon Brando part, and the Martin Sheen, is that who was in it? That's Shannon Tweed. Um, and it's pretty funny. It's worth watching. It's a movie
Interesting.
that is worth seeing once. It's not going to be in the comedy rotation or anything, but it's definitely worth a watch.
All right, good to know.
And it's got a great, it's one of those great titled movies, Cannibal Women in the Avocado Jungle of Death. It's kind of like there's this movie with the sleaze, something in the sleazeball bolorama or something like
Oh,
that.
I'll have to look that up because that sounds
I
funny. Of
have that one too.
course you do. Of course you do.
Yeah.
All
All
right.
right. So, what do you mandate we watch next time?
Right. So I had zero problem with this when we thought Pearl Clutchers. There is one movie and one movie alone that makes me go, oh my stars. And I've never seen it. And it's high time that we all get a real good up close and personal look at Sharon Stone. So we're going to watch
The Basic
Basic
Instinct.
Instinct.
Have I seen Basic Instinct?
I have not.
I don't know if I've confused it in my head with Fatal Attraction or if I've seen both or neither or one or the
Well, there was also the movie that Dad was in, the Fatal
spoof.
Instinct. So that's,
The one
yeah.
with Armand Asante and
Yes.
John Young. Fatal Instinct, is that what?
Yeah, Fatal Instinct. That's what I said.
Oh, did you say that? Okay.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yes, me too, many times.
I may just be familiar with these movies just from cultural osmosis. I don't know that I've seen them. So yeah, all right.
I don't even know what it's about. I know one thing about it. And oh my
I think
stars.
Glenn Close is in the other is in it's Glenn Close and Michael Douglas in Fatal Attraction, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But
So
isn't who's the dude in Basic Instinct?
is it Michael Douglas again?
That
Isn't I
might
think she's a
just
writer that
be.
writes pulpy novels about women who murder the dudes they sleep with, but the dudes she sleep with keeps ending up getting murdered. I think it's something like that.
All right. Well, I'm excited. So there you go.
All right.
All
So
right.
let me get my script because I just remembered that I do the
That you have the outro and not me.
we're just kind of awkwardly staring at each other because we don't know what to do, how to end it. All right, today's episode may have come to an end, but as well, no, it's not as good as we remember month. I didn't change that. Let me. I could just substitute it as I talk.
I love that you're going to edit it in real time as if you can't just.
Pearl Clutchers. There we go. Oh, let me put Kelly's movie in here too, because there's just
Basic
the blanks.
Instinct.
It's not Flight of the Navigator. It's Basic
No.
Instinct.
Yeah.
All right.
Still you.
Today's episode may have come to an end, but Pearl Clutchers Month continues next time with Kelly's mandated movie, Basic Instinct. If you'd like to watch it too, check out the description to see where it's currently streaming or available to rent. Until then, you can watch Movie Mandates on YouTube or listen to it in podcast form on iTunes. If you enjoy the show, want to help us reach a wider audience, engagement is key. So like, subscribe, comment, rate, review, all that stuff. Thank you. And with that, I'm Andrew, and you can follow me on Twitter at Andrew Eisen.
And I'm Kelly, and I'm on Instagram at Pimento Lydia. Bueno.
We hope you've all enjoyed this episode of Movie Mandates, and we'll be back soon with another mandated movie. Bye, everyone.